Okay, tonight we have Maria D'Andrea. I hope I said that right. Her last name. Did I say it right?
It's D'Andrea.
Okay, there we go.
Very good. That worked.
And you are a Budapest psychic. Are you from Budapest, Hungary?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
My
right.
cousin Paul Lear, he visited Budapest and he went to the Hungarian Parliament and the Zekini baths. So anyway, he told me that Budapest was really beautiful. I had never been there, but when he was stationed in Germany, he went over there and checked things out. So and that, plus, I think he was dating some girl in Budapest. So
Now that's it's always a good reason to go.
yeah, there we
Yeah.
go. There we go. So tell me, oh, I see that you know the legendary late Timothy Beckley.
Yeah.
How is it you know Tim? I know Timothy too. How do you know Timothy?
Well, actually, I have over 65 books out, some of them co-authored with him. So I met him in the mid 80s, and I've always done readings, and I'm in the paranormal psychic field. And he asked me to write a book. I explained to him I don't write, but I teach. So he says, well, just write a chapter. And he says, then we'll see if it works or not. So I've been writing since the mid 80s. So like I said, it's over at 65 books. He said to me, he's not counting anymore. He's tired. And then now I have the audio books out. So, but basically, I'm always staying and working on the paranormal. And then with Tim, we used to go ghost hunting, which of course is not what we actually call it professionally, but that's what it is. We used to hunt paranormal. So it was really nice. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy.
Oh yes, he was. He was. Yes. Yeah, I have many articles in his books and everything else. So yeah, he was a very great man. And when he left, when he passed over, it was a very sad moment.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
because we've all known him for such a long time, and he had such a good heart. He really did. He was there for everybody.
Oh yes, yes. Now you're called the Budapest Psychic. When did you learn that you had these psychic abilities?
Well, actually, it's really funny. I always thought everybody did. I thought it was normal. But my mother told me once, I came over during the revolution, in Hungary. And when we were escaping, I was 6 years old. And my mother said that at one point, the group escaping, and it was horrendous. It was just, there are no words. Anybody that's been in a war would know it's horrendous. And when we were escaping, it's like you would hear dogs, you'd hear men yelling, and you'd see a lot of things you should not see. And at one point, they were trying to decide. Half the group wanted to go back, and half the group wanted to go forward. And my mother said that I told them, God told me whoever goes forward will be fine. So half of the group went forward. Obviously, I'm one of them. We didn't have problem crossing. We didn't get stopped. We had like absolutely no issues. And then later on, my mother found out that everybody that went back was killed. So my question to my mother was, what was wrong with you adults listening to somebody six? There's something wrong with you people. But she said, the words I used, I would not have known at 6. Now, I just think everything's normal. So I've just always done this. And this is what I do full time. Spiritual, psychic, paranormal. I've done this full time since I'm 16 professionally. Long time.
Where are some of the places that you investigated?
Oh, well, first of all, I used to work with detectives. So that part I can't say, but, tracking things down and, who did what, for lack of a better term. And we used to go to different areas, say in the woods, or we'd go to different hotels where it's supposed to be haunted. Some were, some areas were, some really weren't anymore. I'm sure they might have been down the line way back, but they weren't anymore. And then Tim would get very disappointed. He's like, "Oh, there's nobody here," and I always laugh because we didn't make anything up. So now he's like, "Now we've got to find somewhere else to go to write about."
Oh my gosh. Phil was going to ask you something.
Sure.
When you were 6 years old, you were the one who told the group that to keep going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
And
incredible.
I don't remember it. You know, obviously I don't remember it because it didn't mean anything to me.
How,
You know,
do you know how many there were in the group that kept going?
no, I really don't. I know there was a really large group, but then the six, I think most people look like a large group. Yeah.
This revolution, this is World War II we're talking about?
No, the Hungarian Revolution was in 56.
56. So, okay. So after the Korean War,
Yeah.
mid-50s.
Right. It was the Russians taking over.
Russian take okay.
Over quickly. Small country. It went very quickly. You know, so some people got out. You know, a lot of people got out, a lot of didn't. But like I said, it's normal to me. When I went to school, I just assumed everybody saw the same things I did. And through time, I realized that they weren't seeing the same things. Okay. So never bothered me. I didn't really change. You know, like some people stopped talking about it, but it's in my lineage. And first of all, I teach because like I teach courses and I do lectures and seminars and all sorts of things. And I read, obviously. And I think the reason that I like teaching and writing is because I truly believe everybody's psychically intuitive. I think it's a survival instinct. Okay. So as an example, I look at it as in Manhattan, if you're walking down the street and there's 8 million people walking behind you, right? If one person is walking behind you for a long period of time, you will turn around. You can't help it. You know, it's a survival instinct. Doesn't mean the person's actually following you because it's Manhattan, yeah, but your instinct will kick in. So I think it's just a matter of levels. I always look at it as like some people are psychic. Let me put it this way. I look at it more as some people are artists, but everybody can draw, except me. I can't draw a stick figure. But I think everybody has that. And a lot of people call it a gut feeling, or they just know. But I think everybody has it, just different levels.
How old were you when you wrote your first book?
Oh, geez. Fine. Now, see, now I have to think. Probably my early 30s, around there.
You've written a lot of books. I saw that. It was like, how about the? I'm sorry,
Dean. Sorry.
No.
Sandy's got a better question than I do. I was just
no. I was just saying that. No, I just saw that she wrote like a lot of books. I was just like, wow. Look.
Yeah. Did you said over 60?
Over 65. At 65. Last count. He just stopped count. And I actually had a publisher for a short time before Tim. And I didn't put those books back out yet. I may not. We were on a roll with Tim, so no call for it. Just doing it forever. But he was very good. Tim was he was always from the heart, and he always came up with these. Well, you know him. He came up with these fantastic ideas that we should try out. And at one point, he said to me, he says, if you wear a lot of funny hats, that would help promote you. I went, no.
We're not going to do that one, huh?
No, we're not funny hats.
We're not going to do the hats.
No. He did do the Budapest. That was his title. So he used it in all the promotions. So even if I'm doing readings and I'm doing events, or I'm doing lectures or seminars, because I'll travel, now I just stuck with it because I've been using it for so long. Yeah. But he's very good with things. He spent lots of time on and off going, but if you wore a hat.
Yeah, Tim being an interesting background. If you look at his IMDb, it's very, very interesting. Some of the films that he was in and stuff like that.
Oh, he was phenomenal. And we used to talk about UFO experiences and all different realms because, I I do out of body, astral travel and things. In fact, I teach everything. Well, actually, it's really funny. I do everything in the spiritual, psychic, paranormal fields. The only thing I don't do is astrology. And it's a wonderful field, but I don't do astrology because honestly, it's too slow for me. So if I can tell you now, I'm not doing 8 months of charts.
You do the runes, right?
Yeah, mainly. I do
You do the rune catching, so yeah.
Yeah, mainly runes because I find it gives me more detail, and I deal with a lot of people that own companies, a lot of corporate, and even in the private sector, I truly feel the more details you have, the more information you have, the better you can make your own decisions. So psychically, I work a little bit differently when I explain what I do.
Well, you know what, that's like Elder Furtard, the methods. Well, I guess they say, okay, first you have your you have your preparation, your casting, your interpretation, your meanings. But then I know some people have their own methods, that they mix in. So you probably could be more effective, using whatever talent you have. Probably. I was gonna say, so in that book you wrote, Evocation, and I saw that you had series of books. Which was more challenging for you? And could you tell me a little bit about Evocation, your book Evocation?
Oh, sure. First of all, I really haven't found any books challenging yet. Because the last book I wrote for Tim took me 3 weeks because I know my field. I don't have anything to research. If I was writing a mystery book or something fun like that, that would take me a long time because I don't know it. Okay.
Yeah.
Vocation, basically, the first thing I always tell people, especially if I'm teaching a course, I'm teaching people, the first thing I always say is they need to learn psychic self-defense. Now, I teach that because I have a different technique. They don't have to use mine. They just have to use something, because when you're dealing with different realms, and I'm always saying everything is energy, vibration, and frequency. So you can actually get hurt. That's like putting your hand in the socket. We don't do that. So you have to,
yeah.
right?
I understand.
It's contacting spirit in different realms, so that you can communicate with them. And a lot of them are helpful. It's not that you don't have negative, but a lot of them are helpful. So if you're using self-defense, psychic self-defense, what happens is you will still see the negative entities and negative things. The difference is it cannot get to you. We'll still see them. It just can't get to you. And that's the whole point of being safe in anything that you do. Yeah. So with the vocation, it's contact.
What authority is that?
The what?
No, I was saying when you say they're safe, who by what authority would that was really interesting what you said. I didn't mean to interrupt you about you said the protection. Where's that power coming from?
Well, I find that first of all, I'm a shaman through Europe, but I'm interfaith ministry. Interfaith just means I believe there's one source. I don't care what you call it.
Okay.
It's the same source. It's just a label,
Okay.
So when I'm doing protection, when I'm doing other things, I call in my source. So when I'm doing readings, a lot of times people in my field will say, well, are you calling in like your one spirit guide? And I'm always going, no, because I call in whoever's going to help that person. It may not be my spirit guide. It may be theirs. It may be a different entity. It may be a different spirit. It could be a deity. I call in whatever's going to help that specific person. Okay. Because I find calling in by name isn't always helpful. So as an example, say, first of all, you have to know who or what you're calling in, right? Because you don't want to accidentally call in something negative because you didn't understand, right? But as an example, what happens is, say you're calling in protection, and that would be, as an example, you'd call in, say, Archangel Michael, right? Now, if you don't know that, and you're just calling in a deity, and you're calling in, say, a love goddess like Venus or Diana, they're not going to help you. They don't know what to do. It's not their job. Right? So it's not that they don't want to help, and then people going, oh, it didn't work. They couldn't do anything. They didn't help me. Well, it's the wrong job. It's like I have friends that are wonderful in different fields. If somebody's a mechanic, I'm not asking him to come over and help me with plumbing. So it's just a matter of being able to connect to the right one. So when I'm doing a reading, I just ask for whichever one's right for that particular person. Then you get the right information for them.
Yeah, that resonates with me because, recently, like if you've been anybody that's been studying religion or anything for a long time, or the occult, or, whatever they believe in, you'll find out that there's been footnotes to everything, to where you're like, okay, whatever you're praying to or asking for, you have to ask that power, hey, look, can I reach the one beyond the footnotes? Because I know that I've been directed here, directed there, but you know who I'm talking about. And in a lot of cases I've heard where, say God himself, where he said, hey, look, I don't care what you've called me, whether it was the ancients, is your mother, your grandmother, or when they saw this power, or they saw that, they thought of something and they thought of me, so I like when you said that. It doesn't matter, I guess, in the end, because if you look at the Khoisan people, and you look at, say, the Sumerians, and you look at the Egyptians, look at different people, you would think that the older people, the Khoisans, they have more of a shamanistic, animistic view, and they respect the supernatural. They believe in one God. But here's the thing. If you look on the internet and you look up things like Sumerians or UFOs, anything that's conspiratorial, ChatGPT or the internet, they won't necessarily, they will say it's not proven. But if you ask them about those indigenous, like shamanistic religions, the things you're talking about, they actually don't discredit them. They say, hey, they have a close connection, spirit dance, trance dance. So it seemed, for me, I've been thinking the old way, where they really don't identify stuff. It's like one, where you really don't have a name for those powers. So what you said resonated with me.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, because shamanically we look at things differently. And in Hungary and a lot of Europe, a shaman has a different meaning that they don't explain over here. And they should, but they don't. So in Hungary especially, but in Europe, well, in any shamanism, because I'm connected to some of the tribes in this country, because a shaman is a shaman. Okay, we might approach different formulas, different techniques, but we're all shaman. We ignore, the cultural religion, politics. We don't do any of that. We just don't. And I find in shamanism, what people don't realize is, to be a shaman, you have to do everything. So if you're a healer and people going, oh, I'm a shaman. No, you're a healer. If you're doing two things, you're still not a shaman. You're a healer and whatever you're doing, like readings, right?
Okay.
So if you think tribal way back, if you're thinking tribal, right, then what happens is a shaman had to do everything, right? So that means a shaman had to be a healer in case the medicine man or medicine woman wasn't available or busy, right? So you had to be a healer, had to be the spiritual leader, which is why I'm in the ministry, right? You had to be able to be on the council of the tribe. And if they can't make a decision, it goes to the chief. If the chief can't make a decision, it goes to the shaman, summer counselor, right? And basically, they needed psychic information, because we need to tune in and find out what's going to help the tribe, or what to avoid, or what to work on, okay? And then on the occult side, we work with the elements, earth, air, fire, water. So when we're working with the elements and ether, and we are ether. So when we're working with energy, vibration, and frequency, right? That's the occult side. What people don't tell you is the other part of that is, you can't be a shaman and not know weapons. Because how are you going to protect the chief? So I can protect a chief. As an example, they go to war. The shaman, male or female, is next to them on the horse, because you're protecting the chief physically and psychically, on the occult side, and you're protecting the tribe at the same time on the occult side. Or they leave you with the tribe, and now you're protecting the tribe physically and occult, and the chief occult-wise. Okay, so you have to know weapons. So we don't say that on a date.
You know, say that. Well, they're gonna come to you with everything. Like Credo Mutwa, that shaman for Africa that died. I guess he was like 94. You might be familiar with Credo Mutwa. He you know, I was remarking on how when if UFOs happen or spirits or anything supernatural or things that you would normally report to the government, they don't do that. They go straight to the shaman. And you know, the people are trying to let me know, hey, look, if you want to find out what's really going on, although you don't, you know, it's not always written down, but they're going to take that to the shaman or to you first. So you probably get a lot of the stuff that people can't even handle or they don't even take to the news or to the doctor, huh? Right?
Oh yeah, you really can't. And I have a funny story. Um, I had a friend, he passed away a couple of years ago. His name was Chief Wise Owl of the Tuscarora tribe, right? And we used to talk on and off, and he calls me up one day, and he was well, first of all, he was about 700 pounds. There's a reason I'm saying that. Okay, not negative. It's just, you know, he had some issues. Anyway, so the reason I said that was because he was going on the reservation and he had the young braves driving and he was in the van because he can't get in the car. That's why I said it like that. Wonderful, wonderful gentleman, right? So now they're driving on the reservation and he calls me up and he's flipping out and he's angry and upset at the braves that he says are not brave. I said, well, what happened? He goes, it says they're on the reservation and a spaceship landed and he told them to pull over so he can get out and do their normal welcoming ceremony, which they've been doing for centuries. They wouldn't pull over. They took off. And now he's upset because what if they thought that they weren't welcome anymore?
Wow.
Maria,
What that?
Maria, I'm not a psychic, but I am pretty sure you've dealt with UFO abductees. Am I correct?
Yeah, a little bit.
Can you tell us about that?
A little bit. Obviously, I can't tell you who because it was private. But basically, some of the people I was talking to had actually very good experiences. One or two, not so much. Okay. But the ones that were on a ship, they were actually on a ship. Okay. They were saying that it felt emotionally warm. They weren't even talking about physical. They were saying they felt emotionally warm, and some of them were either laying down or sitting up or walking around, but they felt like they had two bodies. They felt like they had their physical body, and they were very aware of their spirit body, where sometimes if they were sitting down, their spirit body would move around and they'd stay in one spot, which is astral travel, right? But they didn't know the term for it. So they were just saying they felt like they were not disconnecting 100%, but they were walking around the ship. And they said that they were there to learn. So whoever abducted them was trying to teach them so that we do better, right? And then a couple had very bad experiences and they had nightmares for years and years and years before I met them. And nobody believes them. You know, they always think it's a fantasy, you know, you're daydreaming, you had a nightmare. Honestly, you can't make that stuff up. You can't. And the ones that I've met that had bad experiences, okay, there was always something physical as an indication. You know, one of them actually went and had surgery because he had a little piece of some unknown object more towards the base of his neck, not along the spine, but around that area. And he couldn't figure out what it was. And he had the surgery to take it out. They didn't know what it was, so they threw it away.
Oh, no.
You know, so
So they threw away his implant. Oh my God.
you know, it could have been a map of the universe. We don't know.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You know,
And what extraterrestrials did the abductions? Was it the Greys, Nordics, reptilians, praying mantis?
it was different ones. I find the people that I came in contact with, you know, most of them, and again, there's so many different realms, okay, but most of them actually were dealing with these light beings, and some of them called them angels. just for lack of a better term. But what I found, and I've actually seen them because I, do out of body things. And what happens is they're much, much taller than us. They're very tall. And I say, well, you can't see my living room, but you figure like a living room height up to the ceiling. I'm trying to give an estimate. Okay. So they were very tall and they were all white and kind of glistening. You could see through them, but it was all like white energy, not white body, although they were in the shape of a person, but it was just pure energy. And what I got, and I didn't hear anything, it's more, when you're thinking to yourself, that's what it sounds like.
Right.
It sounds like your thought. And what I got was that they can't show themselves the way they really are, because mentally we wouldn't be able to understand, and mentally we couldn't cope with seeing it. But they said that through time we will be able to. But at this point, they said our physical vision couldn't handle it. So they come in forms that we can actually see and deal with, and they're trying to be helpful.
Right.
So
go ahead. No, I mean, so basically the light beings, which were doing the abductions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And nothing about the grays?
Well, everybody that I talked to, some people, let me put it this way, some people told me what they look like. Some people honestly did not remember, which I was surprised because they remember the whole experience. And the first time I came across that, part of me was, I didn't say this to them, but part of me was going, what do you mean you don't remember what they look like? I think they either blocked it out themselves or it was blocked out, but they still came back with information, and that's the main thing. And I find I see a lot of different things when I go out of body, because the first time I went out of body was not a good experience. After that, it was okay because I learned to control it. But you see things where it's a surprise. So actually, the first time I went out of body, I was, maybe my early 20s, long time ago. And what happened was I was doing a lot of occult work and I was doing a lot of psychic, and it just happened. It wasn't on purpose. It just happened. And I was at home and I went, I disconnected. I went out of body, and it felt like it was a really nice, comfortable area. No walls, no ceiling, just a very comfortable area. And at a distance, I saw what looked like a procession. I thought of it as monks, not that they were, but because, when you see the cloak and the hood of the monks, okay, that's what it looked like. So there were just thousands of them, and they were just walking, for lack of a better term, from right to left in a row. And I wanted to get closer because I wanted to see what they looked like under the hood, because I was in my 20s. So I tried to get closer, and I got a warning that said not to do that. Okay. So being who I am, I gave it another shot. I figured, let me get a little closer because I don't listen well. I was curious. Right. And what happened was when I tried getting closer, all of a sudden I forgot who I was, what I was, where I was. And for a second, because I panicked, I thought, well, if I look down at my body, I will know who I am. And I looked down and there was like nothing there, and I snapped right out of it. It scared me. I was like,
Maria, I got to tell you something. I think I almost went on an astral projection. I was in the Army at the time. I was laying on my bunk. I dozed off, and my whole body was crackling. It was crazy. And then I actually felt like I was lifting up.
That's it.
Yeah. And I totally freaked out, and I went back into my body. And then that only happened one time in my life, but I'm almost positive I was actually astral projecting from my body.
Oh, I would definitely say that's what happened to you, because that's what it feels like a lot of times. Yeah.
The crackling? Do you get the crackling?
No, but I get that feeling,
Okay.
and everybody picks it up a little bit differently. And I find because people have some misinformation, you'll have people, because I teach that. And you'll have people that actually think, well, if they go out of body, there's like a light umbilical cord, for lack of a better way to say that, actual light. And they feel like, well, what if it wraps around something while they're out of body and it cuts it and they disconnect and die? So I try to explain, first of all, it's energy. If you can go out of your house, there's nothing physical that's going to affect it.
Right.
I mean, really, because a lot of it is science on the occult side. So you can't, if you can go through walls and you can go through buildings and you can go wherever you want, like really in the universe, there's nothing that's going to disconnect it because it's pure energy. Your soul, your spirit is energy. We just happen to be in a physical body right now, so you can't die. You can't get hurt like that, because you're out of body. You still need to have self-defense so you don't run across anything negative. But, it's a different feel, and I found when I was going out of body a couple of times, you see different planets, you see different beings, for lack of a better word, different things that I saw some dome things floating and I realized they were houses. But as soon as I realized and I put a name to it, it snapped me out of it. So, you can only control things so much.
And I interviewed this one lady, and she'd had an out-of-body experience, and she actually went from the United States all the way to Bulgaria. And she was able to describe this whole village. And there was a Bulgarian reporter that saw what she wrote about her experience and said the village actually looked like that.
Right.
And she's never even been to Bulgaria. Yeah. Now it's weird.
Yeah. I mean, that works. That's like when I wrote the evocation book. I'm always explaining to people that there's so much that's technique, okay, that they can actually learn and they can do that because we always deal with spirit. They're dealing with us. Sometimes we get it as a gut feeling. Sometimes we understand that it's spirit information. A lot of business people, they just call it a gut feeling. Whatever works for them is fine, right? But when you're doing evocation, you're calling in. So you're calling them to you. And that's like when people talk about mediumship and trance mediumship, I don't think some people understand the difference. And there's a tremendous difference between the two. So, okay, so I'll give you an example. Mediumship, when we're doing mediumship, what that means is I will call somebody to me to give the information to me that I need, and then I will say that to my client, whatever it is, right? So I'm just passing information on. That's all it is. Trance medium means you allow a spirit to take over your body, seance, right? You allow a spirit to take over your body and you're just gone. Now, I can do that. I'm not too happy doing that because I'm one of those people that don't like to give up 100% control. That's why I'm in the occult field. But the first time that happened with me, what happened was I was working at the Renaissance Festival years ago, and I was working day and night, spiritual readings, occult, and after a while, your energy's shifting because you're all in that mode most of the time. And I was doing a reading for somebody, and then all of a sudden I was in this big gray room, and I knew it was a room, but you can't see the walls and the floor, but it's a room. And in the front of the room, I kept hearing somebody talking and talking and talking and talking, right? So I didn't know what was being said. Now, at the Renaissance Festival, I was thinking, everybody went to the Kissing Bridge. I don't know where it is. I'm working all the time. I want to know where it is. Everybody's walking around and taking breaks. I just work because I'm on a roll, right? And mentally, I'm going, I want to know where the Kissing Bridge is, and everything else with the events there. And then all of a sudden, I heard something. I don't remember what was said, but I remember thinking, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I snapped right out of it. It was still me talking. So that's really the difference. You can't control how long, you can't control time. You're not there. I don't like to do that because I don't like to give up 100% control, so it has to be really called for. My grandparents on my mother's side had what they call regular jobs. I think I'm in a regular field, you know. But besides that, my grandparents were, I think they did transmedia work. They did seance. My grandfather did automatic writing. Some of my books are automatic writing. So somebody will call me up about a formula and I'll go, oh, that looks really good. Nope, wasn't written by me. Because you get spirit information, you know. And then on my father's side, my father was very psychic. Totally skipped my mother, just went. And then both my sons can read and do things. And they're in professional fields. I'm the only one that does this full time. You know?
So I was going to ask you about the rune casting. Is that more about the subconscious, what they can bring out themselves and what they know? Is it more about future, or is it grabbing like Akashic records? Like what? I never did understand that part about it.
Okay, so any form of reading, but I just like the runes because I like details. Like I said,
Okay.
the more decisions you can make. But this is how I work. Okay. So if I'm telling somebody something positive in a reading, what I'm telling them is exactly what their life path is without them making a change.
Maria, I have to stop you for a second. We're getting close to closing here. So we're going to take a 10-minute break and we're going to send you another link and we'll finish up the interview. So you have less than 1 minute.
Okay, we'll finish then. Thank you so much for just having me on here.
Oh, yeah. We're going to send you another link to finish up the interview.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll continue. Just hold that thought. We didn't want you to get rolling, and it's just going to cut you off right in the middle of it anyways.
Appreciate that. That's very considerate.
Glad great
No
now.
worries.
Okay, so we'll see you in 10 minutes.
Okay, see you then.
Smoke them if you got them.
No. Boy,
Where do we stop you at? Let's continue on.
Okay, we're talking about how I do readings because everybody's a little different. So what I said was, the way I work is if I'm telling somebody something positive and they leave their life alone, that's exactly how it's coming up. That's the way they're supposed to go. That's their norm. If something negative comes up, every single time I will tell them exactly what is negative, and I will tell them what caused it, and then I will tell them how to fix it, avoid it, or improve it. They're supposed to do that. Now, it's their free will whether they make that change or not. Okay, but every single time it will tell them what to do to improve the situation in some form. Okay, because that's the whole point of knowing. If something negative is coming up where they have no control at all, I will never get the information because there's no point. I only get things they can still avoid or fix or improve on. It's not like the universe is going, it won't work. Right? So that's really how it works. So if somebody's telling you have something really horrendous going wrong in your life and they can fix it for you, that doesn't even make sense because it's your life. You're the one that can fix it. That makes sense?
Yep.
Yeah, you know? So they're supposed to be able to tell you what you can do, and then it's your choice if you move on it or not. But that's really how it works. Okay. On the paranormal side, it's more understanding the laws of nature to work with them. We are actually the oldest science. Like chemistry came out of alchemy, physics came out of metaphysics. We're very exact with formulas and techniques and things that we do. So a lot of mine in the books are ancient. Some of them are mine. And the ones that are mine, it's like 10 years of doing it every single time to get the same outcome, like in science or like in a recipe. If your great-grandmother had a great recipe and it comes down the line and everybody follows it, it's always going to come out great. And then you're going to have somebody that tweaked it. And it's not going to come out the same. And they're going to go, oh, it didn't work. No, you changed it. So it really is a science, psychic and science, But
Maria, how did you become a reverend?
Oh, I studied interfaith ministry. And I was with a church for a while, interfaith church. Okay, so that means after services, you also did healing and readings and, spiritual the spiritualist church, but that makes you legal in every country forever. It just means I can do weddings and other things, but shamanically, like I said, you have to do everything or you're not a shaman. You've got to cover all the grounds. Yeah.
You know, I saw in your bio that you interview, or you did an interview with Douglas Dietrich.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I you know what? I really he's a really interesting gentleman. How did that go? And you know, what's your relationship? How did you end up meeting him? Because you know, a lot of people don't know he has some really heavy stuff, heavy stories and things he's gone through.
Yeah. Well, I was on his show a couple of times, and I met him through somebody else that suggested that he should have me on his show. You know, very interesting person off the air, by the way. Yeah, it was really funny. We're talking about a lot of the heavier things that are going on. Right. Some, you know, conspiracy things along that line. He's very heavy into that, and he's actually knowledgeable. Okay.
Right.
What happened was, this was the funny thing. What happened was, he was telling me that if you looked out of his window in his apartment and you look down the street, you see all these telephone poles. I don't know if you saw the show, but he asked me on the air. He said there was a pole that looked just like the telephone poles. It was made out of metal. And what happened was that they painted it to look like the poles. So he said to me psychically on the air, can I psychically check out if that has anything to do with the conspiracy part? Now, if you would have asked me that, not psychically, I could have been a little bit more polite.
Right.
I don't play with psychic information. And everything I got was, no, they just needed that pole to connect all the other ones. And they painted it like that just for logical reasons. So he was a little disappointed. I said, but you asked me psychically. And, you know, we don't mess with that. Whatever you get psychically, you pass on, because through time, if you add to it, leave something out, if you play with it, you will actually lose that ability. Just like the universe going, well, if you're not going to listen, we're going to stop talking to you. Yeah. He asked me on, so when we got off, I went, listen, I'm sorry, but don't ask questions like that on the air.
Yeah, I know.
You want to but he really, he's very, very knowledgeable about a lot of little things, And some people think that he's kind of like, you know, off the wall a little bit. Yeah. But that's it. He knows things that other people are not grasping or that are not aware of. And some people don't want to know.
That part right there, yes.
Yeah. They don't
know a lot about Jack Parsons and the you know, the occult, and with those you know, he just knew a lot about that too. But yeah, you know, I didn't want to hog up the time because there's a lot of stuff they want to ask you. Yeah.
You guys. I'm always learning.
No, Zandine, go ahead. The only thing I was going to ask her is, Maria, as a psychic, do you ever tap into the Akashic records?
Yes.
Okay.
Not all the time. Obviously, it's not often, but once in a while. I find I see it a little differently than other people. I don't think anybody's right or wrong. I think people just pick things up differently. You know, because some people describe it as a book. And I think the reason they do that is because that's the most understandable way to explain that to people. You know, anytime I've done that, it was more like a multiverse of energy balls. I can't think of another. So each little one was connected to a different one and was a different person, different situation, different time. Yeah, it's multiverse. You know, so you're just tapping into different levels. So I find everything's there, past, present, future. That's like in a reading. People think that we're just looking into like one area, but you can do past, present, or future because there's no difference to us. So say something went wrong in your life when you were in your teens and you want to know why did it go wrong? We can do that. There's no difference in the timeline. It's fluid. So when it's fluidic like that, you know, we can tap in wherever we want. We just don't say that normally because, you know, with people, they really don't want to know. They just want a lot of times I find they want the information, but I teach and they don't want to learn. They just want the information, which is fine. As long as it helps them, that's all that counts. especially with corporate people. Tells them who to hire, how to be better leaders, what to do with their corporation. I had this one gentleman years ago, and I'm saying it like that because he was in the wrong job. And we found out where his strongest abilities lie. He switched businesses. He ended up owning his own company, and he was doing phenomenal because that's where his abilities were. And years later, he came over. He shows up at my door in a Hummer, and he goes, "I just wanted to show you the Hummer. Thank you. I bought a new house. Bye." I'm like, really? Didn't even get out of the car. Bye. I'm like, okay. And he drove a distance because he doesn't live where I am. He just wanted to show me the Hummer and that he got a new house. So,
Oh my gosh.
but it's great because that was his path. He was just in the wrong job. So he was always frustrated. He thought that he was not good at doing things. He was great at doing things. He was just in a place where that was not his ability. So that's why with corporate people, and I like to teach them so they can make their own decisions. That's the whole point. I truly believe the more you can do for yourself, the better the world gets. You do better, people around you do better. That's really why I like to do lectures and seminars and teach, and I'll travel because I don't care where people are. This is what I do full time. If it helps them with something that, where they can learn and they can do it themselves, the more they can do for themselves, the better. Everybody doesn't agree with me, by the way.
Maria, where are you located at? Are you in New York?
Yes, I'm on Long Island in New York in Huntington. So So when I read, people come over. I read on the phone. Doesn't matter where they are. I'm not doing body language, colors, what they're wearing. I always laugh when people are reading and they're looking at the color of whatever you have on. First of all, that's not a reading. But I always laugh because what if that's the only thing that wasn't in the wash?
Also, too, last week we did an interview with El Pellegrino, and she says that she knew you.
Oh, Ellen, yes.
Yes, Ellen, yes.
Very nice lady. Wonderful, wonderful lady. We need more real people, so we're always happy when they're out there. And she's very genuine. So I like her.
How did you guys meet?
She had a psychic event going on, and we both did the same event.
Oh,
Network.
okay.
If this is what you do full time, you have to let people know you're around somewhere, right? So we go to different places and we network. We ran across each other a lot of times, try different things. She has a lot of my books.
Yeah, it's so weird how the paranormal community connects. I mean, like I connect to Timothy Beckley, you connect to Timothy, we connect to all these different people one way or another, all these different degrees of knowing somebody.
Oh, and it's really funny because there are some wonderful, wonderful people in my field. Then you have people that obviously every field has people that are negative or not real, So if somebody asks me about something and they're great, like Ellen's really good, she's from the heart, I will say that. If they're not, I just don't say anything. It's not my place. I like my karma. I don't mess with it.
Have you ever worked with or helped Whitley Strieber?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Because he's up in your area. I was just curious.
No. But, we're all connected some point somewhere.
Right.
I always find it's a timing thing. I was looking for an astrologer years ago. I did a lot of things in the middle 80s that were new, like the books and things. And I was looking to learn astrology. And I ran across this guy that was really, really good. He got out of the business, lost touch. I don't know what he's doing, but he was really good. And, I was learning a little bit. And then I realized it's a wonderful field, but it's too slow for me. You have to know where you're good, but you have to know where you're not, So if people go, do you know astrology? I just go, no, because I'm not going to do it. I'm not good at it. because I don't have an interest in it. It's nice if you have an interest, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because I love what I do. Astrology, it's, and I know Chinese astrology and, Western. So I know both of them. I'm still doing readings without all that.
Well, it's just like being an author. You write what you know, and then you're successful.
Yeah, exactly. I had every now and then I listen to people like, well, you should write about your life. I'm like, no, that's boring. I want to teach. My thing is teaching. I want people to be able to do things by themselves and to learn, and and if they're interested, great. And I always say, like, I have students where I always say to them, if you use this knowledge now, it's wonderful. If you don't, you can use it now, 20 years from now, never. There's no good or bad decision. It's just your decision. Because people feel like, well, I have to use it now. No, you just need the knowledge. And whether you use it or not, and whenever you use it, that's free will. It's a choice. Like even in a reading, a lot of times people, like if I'm telling somebody that this is their best path or this is what they should be doing, that's better for them. Okay. Then a lot of people look at me like, oh, okay, now I have to do that. No, you don't. If I'm telling you something and it's not something you're interested in, it could be your best ability. You could be an artist and not want to draw, right? Doesn't mean you don't have the ability. So if I'm telling you this is your best direction and you're not interested, I always say, let me know, because then we can find your second best, your third best, until we find what's right for you, not just your ability. Because people assume if it comes through spirit, you have to move on it. No, you don't. Free will. I like free will.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Choices. Yeah. And you guys,
I think Soul Brother needs it. He has something.
I was waiting for Brother Phil. Brother, what sign are you, by the way?
I'm a Leo.
That was gonna be my first choice because you're prolific, all the books you wrote, and just the way you. My mom's August 14th.
Oh, mine's August 11th.
Okay, Phil, shut down. Phil, come on.
No, my brother's is August 8th, but I'm an Aries.
Found a lot of Leos, right?
Well, my son's a Leo too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
he's July. He's July.
D'Andrea is your married name, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, that sounds Italian to me. It didn't sound.
No, I got tired of people trying to say my last name in Hungarian. I gave up on that years ago, and so I just kept his name. Okay. It was Lichtig, which now nobody can pronounce. It's hard enough for them to pronounce my first name. I went to Maria in English, which just ticked off my mother. It's just the way it is. I'm fine with it, but
Well, I understand. Well, what was your given name at birth in your native language?
Well, it's a combination. It was Mario, right? And then sometimes it was Marika.
Marika. It's beautiful.
And sometimes Maya. So we switch with a couple nicknames. Maya's was a nickname, but it's too hard to explain. Now we're at Maria.
And Phil and Maria have unique last names, and that makes me jealous. And now I want to be D. Roberts.
The D just means of.
Well, oh, okay.
It just means of. So the original last name was Andrea, and the D apostrophe means of Andrea. Just like the sorrow means of Asaro. Asaro was the original last name. So, anyways, that's an Italian.
I didn't know that. I love learning. See,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Foreign languages, because it would normally be DE, but since there's two vowels, they put the apostrophe right there.
It's just Anyways,
like in French, it would be de. It would be D. De maison or de whatever it is.
Or D Soul Brother. D Soul Brother.
Then it's still brother.
The Soul Brother's a linguist. Soul Brother knows French, English, and Chinese, right?
I'm trying to study Chinese right now. Yeah, I'm getting a grip on it.
On the language?
Bujadala. Yeah, on language. Yeah, French I can read, speak, and write, but the Chinese is harder. But all the languages I find are the same. Once you get the verb, if you take the verb and you ask like 5 questions, what, where, who, when, and how, you can get it. So like if you're eating in French, everybody knows manger. They go mange. But je mange, I eat, tu manges, we eat, nous mangeons, they eat, ils mangent, masculine, elle mange, feminine, and then you have a plural, vous mangez. If you're talking, formal. If I'm talking to a person such as yourself, say.
Yeah.
He can sing in Chinese. He sings in Chinese.
Nice.
But this gentleman right here, he actually is like the best songwriter you've never heard. And once you hear him, if you ever need a song collaboration, his lyrics are like crystal clear.
Oh, I love music.
Thank you. You're talking to a R&B and rap pioneer right here. So.
Oh, I love everything. I'm not too thrilled about opera, which I'm supposed to be. But it's like, yeah, it sounds nice. I'm more to everything else. But I love music because you cannot be depressed or unhappy and listen to music. I don't think that's possible. Any form that you like. Yeah. And with rap, if you really listen to it, it's poetry. It just set to music.
Oh yeah.
Most people just don't listen to the words enough.
Yes, it's the oldest form of music. Even the old Roman songs really didn't have music set to them at first. They were rap essentially. They were poetic verse.
Definitely.
I totally agree. I mean, it's just the industry has it now to where sometimes, like, to get famous or popular, they have to go for the shock value and everything. But people, you'll find real artists are trying to make a way in, with stuff that they're not forced to just write about certain subject matters. Because if you look at some of the artists, they've survived. If you're willing to write about, a certain, certain things, you can survive a long time. But you take your chances writing about something like, that's real, that's not like, what, since it's kind of, some kids might watch this,
No, I get it. And some of the songs are really spiritual if you actually listen to the words. Yeah, very, very positive, or positive outlooks. A lot of them have really genuine positive outlook. There was a song, I can't remember the title. It was one of the rappers, and the whole song was about how not to use drugs, right? But all everybody heard was drugs. I'm like, well, if you listen to the words, it was telling you not to.
Yeah. Yeah, like 50 Cent, somebody, like, a lot of people know, they'll tell you, people followed him on tour. They said the only thing he does is work out and does his business. They don't see him drink, smoke, or do anything, because he does. I mean, he really, some people are trying to spread that message of like, hey, to be successful, you really gotta, it's harder than what you think. Even to do YouTube, the people that want to be influencers and stuff, they're finding out that you have to be there on it all. It's a job. You don't have to work at anything. So, but you yourself being prolific like that, that is another thing we haven't even gotten into, is like, and I'm sure Phil, you and him have a lot in common because he's really prolific. He's an award-winning documentarian. I mean, you guys probably could do a collaboration. He's really, good with that too.
That's phenomenal. I always have so much respect with people with any kind of talent, but especially, something like that, when you can put it to music and it flows, because it just makes you feel good. I'm telling you, you cannot be upset or depressed and listen to up music. You just can't. Yeah.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I always laugh. I always have music in the house, and
okay.
It's so good. It has to. It makes you feel good. Yeah. In between, I have it as background. I don't do that when I'm working, obviously, but because then you've got to go this way. You have to.
Isn't it funny though? Like, for example, in scary movies, sometimes the scariest part of the movie is the music.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
and you know something bad is coming, and now you're afraid before you even see that part.
It is. And then like in a Rocky movie, like the
Oh
thing that
yeah,
gets you pumped up and excited about the movie is the music that's going on in the movie. And
that was
so
so. Yeah, I
if you
saw
took
it.
the music away from it, it like it would the movie wouldn't be the same at all.
I don't think it would have had the same impact.
No.
You know, it would have been toned down a lot.
It's an essential part of the storytelling process.
Yeah. Even when you're listening to some show, you know, say you're listening to a TV show and it always has the same music to start, you don't even have to be in the room, you know, which show is coming on.
Oh, my favorite part of 80s television was the intros. The intro music was
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
whenever Magnum PI came on, it was just like I could just hear that theme song and it was like my favorite
like
show.
that show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Well,
it's really funny because you resonate differently with different things. That's like I find I have not been able to watch the news since I'm 12, 11 or 12. Can't do it. I can it's funny. I can listen to it like in between music on the radio, but I can't watch it because it just sets me off psychically. So I can't do it. And then people get annoyed. They're like, "You're not watching the." It doesn't mean I don't know it. It just means I can't watch it.
I can't watch that. And most of the time it's all negative
Yeah,
anyway.
you need
So,
positive to kind of get you moving in the right direction. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that they should just put in, if they're going to put in a lot of negative, they should balance it out and put some positive things in there. You know,
Right.
somebody won the lottery, somebody bought a house, they made $1 million, something good.
Absolutely. There needs to be a balance to it, but unfortunately, if it bleeds, it leads has been the way the news has ran, at least for the past 30 years. Yeah, I think it's affected negatively the whole state of the world.
Oh, yeah. I find I've come to the point I don't talk politics or religion with clients because it has nothing to do with what I do, and I don't want to get into that because it's a no-win thing. Even when you agree, it's like no. So I just stick to what I do. And the funny part is when I'm working, because people don't realize when I'm working, I'm not really there. So I always tell clients if I'm doing a reading, if you want to take notes, record, I don't care what you do, but I'm not going to remember what I said 2 seconds later because the information isn't for me. And honestly, if I remembered everything I did in a reading since I was 16, I'd be in a padded cell somewhere.
Absolutely.
The
Well,
information for me. So,
Maria, I want to thank you so much. We've got about a little under 4 minutes left. I want to give you a chance to go ahead and promote anything you want, your books, upcoming events, anything like that. Tell us, what you got going on.
well, I'm always doing public speaking. So they just have to get on my website, which is my website is just my first and last name.com because I figured I had a shot at remembering that. I'm so bad at electronic things. They blow up on me. Or they can call me. All my information is on the site, and with the books, they're everywhere, especially the audiobooks are at Dalton. They're on what is it? TikTok. They're on 8 million things that I don't even look at. And everything's on Amazon also. And basically, if anybody needs, say, any more information, they can always get in touch with me. They can call me, they can text me, whatever they want.
And the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, the email is mdandrea100@gmail.com. That's probably the best one initially. And then I switch to phone because I work internationally. So that's the easiest one. If they're in the United States, I usually just talk to them. Whatever helps people.
Awesome.
And thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been so much fun. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria.
Yeah. Thank you, Maria. Maria, I used to contribute some of my ghost stories to Timothy Beckley. So if you ever need any ghost stories, I also too, publish books. So if you ever need some fillers, I have them.
Oh, that's great. Well, you have my phone number. Keep in touch. Everybody.
Oh, I will.
Anyway.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing the knowledge that you took a long time and did hard work to learn, for sharing that with us. I could hear it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And really, you guys are so much fun. And I love that we can talk about everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Take care. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
You too. Thank you again, Maria. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good
night.
night.
Right.